High Court. I'm getting so many SMSs. I'll try and read a few. But before that, CEO, just some clarification. We know the big story in the papers today is about Meru Senator Mithika Linturi. You were previously barred from investigating him by the court over claims of forged academic papers. Now we see that the University of Nairobi has revoked his law degree. What happens next, CEO?
Thank you very much. Of course, we've been bad, but we've also succeeded in getting lifted to continue, and probably university is acting in response to our own action with it.
Okay, what happens next?
So next is, of course, he'll appear in court to face the charges legally. So that's where we are. But can I go back to what we initially said about accusation on our officers? There's a point I wanted to raise briefly, because one of the people or a group of people who are usually accused, or we get accused of being corrupt, is a host of imposters. We've arrested many. In the last 1 year, I can say we've had over 48 in court. One of them was arrested more than 3 times, taken to court, charged, and then when he's out again, he goes back. And he actually confessed and said that this is the best job to do and he will not stop doing. So we keep on arresting and taking him to court. What else can we do? We have that problem. And we also know that some can even carry the names of some of our prominent or senior investigations team.
Okay.
Just a few months ago, I was told that I was somewhere. My name was recorded somewhere in a parastatal of one of the ministries, and when we followed up, it was just somebody walking in there writing name in order to. So sometimes some of those accusations could be out of such mistaken identity.
Fair enough, Sio, and I know you've taken time to show us what your organization is doing, but the question for today that Kenyans are asking, and I should show you some of the SMSs that people are sending our way. EACC has failed in its quest to investigate corruption in Kenya. They're talking about county governments. Some have spent 225 million, for example, on a green city over 5 years. Nothing to date. I'm sure this is a case that you're aware of. Another person here is saying your body should be abolished or restructured. Corruption is a norm in Kenya. We don't see any politicians convicted of looting, despite what you're saying are your best efforts. They are saying maybe we need we've seen examples of CSS who are very hard-hitting. They're saying maybe people in leadership like ACC, like yourself, need to be more forthright in what you're doing. My question being to you, and Kenyans are watching and listening, can you tell us that you're doing everything that you can within your power to convict or investigate corruption in this country without fear of influence from political leadership? I don't know what your little smile is about. Maybe I've touched on something, but can you give Kenyans, that is what they're asking, because they feel that if you had capacity to do 100%, that you are at 20 or 30%.
We do our best. We do without fear. We do without any favor. And I want to be very clear with you on this again, because I'll repeat the issue of conviction, which lies elsewhere. For us, we investigate, we make sure everybody is investigated. 47 counties in this country has at least somebody or more from each of them being investigated, and many of them already in court. Over 900 people in court in the last few years, over 423 cases, criminal cases in court, over 500 recovery suits in court, and this is across the country. That is when you look at also talking about whether it's done in fear or favor, whether big people are convicted or this and that. You can recall that we have mentioned over 6 ministers, over 9 PSs, over 17 parastatal heads who are accounting officers, and many more in counties, over 15 governors and many. That means we do not fear. We also do not favor whether it is somebody from my backyard or any other person's backyard, are all within these lots. And we promise Kenyans that whatever is within our authority, with whatever resource we have, we do. And secondly, the justice chain begins like this, especially this particular program of fighting corruption. It begins with the Raya himself as part of the chain, whether it is fighting it, whether it is refusing to be part of the process, which our biggest problem is the Kenyans and their participation in corruption. Number 2 is those of us in the investigation sector who do our business, is another level of the chain. Then the prosecution, and finally the adjudication. The conviction lies there. We will do our best.
Yes.
And we are already doing, and we will continue doing.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the 175 names that you say there's a perception that nothing has been done, but you say the cases are in court. Why did the list have to pass through the president's hands before it was made public on a CEO?
I don't want to go there because you will pull me back to the old political histories, because it will politicize the same. Otherwise, I want to tell you one thing.
Seemingly seek either approval or get...
No. By law, if you looked at the EACC Act or any other law that puts the commission there and all the other commissions, we report to Parliament and the President. So we give them our reports. We give quarterly reports, we give annual reports, and we publish our quarterly achievement through Kenya Gazette in every quarter of the year. And this publication goes to both Parliament and also the President, the President's office or presidency, which is also reported to as usual. And also, the matter of reporting is this: any of those entities to which we report can also ask for information at any time of the year, any time of the month, so as to understand the situation of what we do. For example, Parliament calls us, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee used to invite us after every 2 or 3 months to understand what's going on. We prepare the same kind of things, this number of things under investigation, this number of cases in court, this number of cases concluded. It's the same way that when a report is asked or a situation update is asked for, we give to the entities. And not alone those, even other Kenyans are also empowered to demand for information from us. So that's our process.
Wanyiga, off camera, when I met my brother in the lounge, I've not had a personal interaction with him. This is my first time, and as I said, I came with the impression that, hey, there's a zero report here, let me have to hear what he says. And having listened to him and having listened to what he has prepared for us, I get the feeling that there are 2 issues that we have to address. One, the PR element. Bwana, if what you're presenting to the nation today, because the whole nation looking at you today, if what you're presenting to the nation is a true reflection of what you have done with your officers on the ground, then I must say with the greatest respect that then your commission has done a horrible job as far as the PR is concerned. Because I said, this job you're doing is not for yourself. It's a job that has been given to you for the people of Kenya. And corruption is a monster that is causing ripple effects everywhere, including the bad politics that you're hearing now, including the secession calls. Some of them are partly fueled by the fact that the big people, the correctly connected, can do anything and get away with it. So for me, the first part that you have to address, Bwana Halake, is how do you give your report card to the public so that they can also help you? They can be an ally in your job. They're not supposed to be enemies. I agree that you begin from the Raia. The Raia are the easier part. Remember John Michuki? When John Michuki came, the Matatu sector was in a mess. And when he took the lead, the Raia insisted on every road. There will only sit 3, there will be no standing. And they will fight against the Makangas. Exit Michuki. On the road today, even if you refuse to sit 4 of you in a Nissan that is supposed to be for 4, they'll force you and you'll pass a traffic police officer who will wave them on because this is Muslim compromise. Yeah. So, whereas the Raia have a contribution, I agree, in terms of their mindset and ethics and values, the bigger role begins with you and those with whom you work. The second problem that we have, Waiga, is a systemic issue. I agree with Halake when he says that he has done his job to the point that he has presented the evidence and arraigned the perpetrators or the alleged suspects in court. I really hope that he has done his due diligence, so that it's not a question where he's arresting officers, his investigation officers take bribes and do such a shoddy job without following the due process of the law that the presentation of these suspects in court has no real value in terms of reaching the objective for which his commission was set up. But having said that, I think there is a need for us as a public, and even for Mr. Halake, I don't know whether he has asked the government for this, that if he's going to hold the ultimate responsibility for the corruption war in this country, he must be given powers as much as possible to see the product from the beginning to the end, particularly the prosecutorial powers. Because if he's going to arraign a politician in court, and this politician is the same one in parliament to whom he's supposed to be reporting, because he has to report to parliament, and knowing our dishonest and bad politics, how is this guy going to get any conviction? These politicians will go around him, they make phone calls everywhere, and he just end up looking bad. So for me, as a country, we need to have this commission having prosecutorial powers, so that when we blame them for not having the job, they have no scapegoats. Because right now what he's telling us, look, people of Kenya, I have done my job. When I present for prosecution, it is not me who does it. There's a DPP who comes in. There's a police who come in. So, we cannot convict. We cannot hold him on that.
Halake, if we are to carry on with the discussion that has been brought in by Dr. Lutalala, then why would you still want to cling to this job? if we are to buy his argument,
okay, thank you. We are not powerless.
You're not powerless.
We are not powerless.
But you have not investigated cases of high-profile individuals that have gone through to full conviction.
No, you are not right in saying that.
How we are
you are not right in saying that. I've already told you, unless you are asking for higher authorities than the ones I've told you, which I don't know. I've told you they are ministers, they are PSs. In public service, I don't know other officers beyond there except the president. Unless you are telling me those ones higher there,
okay,
nothing remains for us. Number two,
for example.
No,
is that not a matter that should be under the JSC?
No, just give me a chance. Let me first complete my
then
statement.
You answer my question.
And number two, our process is watertight. Our process is foolproof. That is why out of the 33 completed cases that I'm telling you, only 3 had acquittals, and even the 3 we've appealed against, because we don't believe that those people merited to be acquitted. So on our side, nothing remains, and we will always be making it even better, deploy more skills, deploy more tactics, deploy more equipment as the world changes. We have some of these 423 cases hanging around the court for 5 years, 10 years, 7 years. You know what happens with time lapse. With some things, evidence may sometimes fade, witnesses sometimes die, others even turn against the process in the process. So there are many challenges when you deal with these issues. Otherwise, what you need to know is that we do not leave anything untouched. One of our greatest problems is that the adverse court rulings have also stalled a lot of our issues. For example, Kidero, you know his case. You know that we've been stopped by court not to progress for a while. Ojamong, his case, voluminous. We are stopped. Engineer Kamau goes. You know, the list is long.
What's the status of Ranton Samboja's case?
We are still within in court, isn't it?
Okay.
So these are things which will definitely
handed over everything now to the basically it's now going through the.
Of course, we filed a petition long ago. So the rest will now be up to the
What
process.
about the Vice Chancellor of Masinde Muliro? What's the status of that case?
It's just been suspended by the board, by the University Council.
Okay.
So the rest will go on. Now, I want to tell you this. Yes, I agree with probably the issue of PR and the rest. But the PR itself, I want to tell you one thing. Every year we publish our annual report with all these statistics. Have you ever seen one? Have you read one?
I haven't.
So you see, that's the problem that we have. We launch it, and we are going to launch one soon again, because we are just finalizing. It's with printers to be launched soon. How many Kenyans have access to some of these things? We invite the media. We launch with them. The following day, we see only one line here, instead of picking some of even these critical issues that we see.
Because
you become one of, the media itself is part of stalling our process.
To be quite fair,
but we also don't praise us, but share the right information with the public, so that they are also part of our process. Now the other thing is Yes, Kenyans, during the initial Kibaki years, had the confidence to move on. We urge the same. We have a public education directorate, ethics and leadership, which also chapter 6 based organization within our institution, which trains the public, which trains the leaders, and also invites people to be part of our process in even reporting properly and factually. But we also encourage them to lead the processes, because once they did that, and we quote the same, the Michuki issues, the traffic issues when they used to do in 2003, 2004, because after 2005 they again relapsed to their old behavior, is what we also encourage and see that we push together. However, the problem we have then is that the public also has become a bit apprehensive or negative of its own.
Naturally.
Probably if they see a bit more of churning out of these matters that we say we have filed in court.
Might change their perception.
Yes, it will, because if they say that a minister, one of the things I have been praying for is if I see a minister convicted.
Just like so one of the things you've been praying for is to see,
and I push for is that if somebody like a minister sent to jail, it will send a big lesson across the country. Indeed. It will be it will actually be an announcement.
You should be
on my side. I do my business. I do investigations.
Because the VSCC,
I take the matters to court. And from there now, we are pushing the court.
Come in, Bakari.
I was saying, it's not, don't say, that probably if they know, they're entitled to know.
Yes.
They are your allies in this fight. Actually, they're supposed to be your biggest ally. And believe me, the moment you are able to get the better side of the public, you'll be amazed at how the public will stand behind you.
True.
And even the threats to your position, the phone calls that you get, the people of this country will be your greatest security. But as of now, any protection from politicians, I'm not suggesting you have, but any threats,
we don't.
You'll be as vulnerable as you not believe, because the people also are begging for your blood. And if you allow me, there is one citizen who says that sadly most commissions, especially the EACC, have ceded their constitutional independence to the executive and cannot protect the sovereignty of the people values of the constitution. You see, these are the people out there. And for me, my greatest worry is this. At what point will this end? Because Wahiga, this country is bleeding from corruption. And let me just give you an example of what this has done. Corruption is threatening to kill our devolution dream. That whereas we look towards a devolution as the greatest savior in terms of reallocation of resources and bring the resources closer to people so that we can spiral socio-economic growth for our people, the same corrupt system that has been devolved. Number two, let me tell you how corruption is killing us. That the politics of this country is being channeled and turned around through corruption. For instance, are you surprised that a governor in whom the citizens entrusted so much, after the election, tells you, I now find that political party X is the best party, and I'm switching from political party A to B. Little do you know that is because the fellow has actually embezzled money, and the new government coming in is threatening that if you don't come this side, we expose your backside. See how that is messing our politics. When you see a very robust governor saying, I stand for party X, and suddenly he's vanquished and he doesn't say a thing, go behind. And the like would know, go behind. There is corruption. And he knows or she knows that he is exposed unless they play ball. So we must slay the dragon of corruption. But most importantly, and I think what will give Halake more comfort, is can he be given prosecutorial powers? You didn't respond to that. Have you?
Okay, I will respond, but let me also say...
Not necessarily.
No, I'll respond. But let me also say two things, which is one of our greatest, problems. One is politicization of this fight against corruption. It's so much politicized. It is not supported from the normal, technical, professional, or even leadership perspective. the people who comment negatively, comment from a political side, the people who might also support, might also be doing just for the sake of supporting. Politicizing to the extent that, for example, I recall 1 year or more ago, when we had those many people on those lists, that list that you have mentioned, we bring governors here to record statements. They come with 1,000 people who are all carrying banners. They say, it's our money that he has taken. He is our person. Wachana naye. It's like ni mwizi wetu. Leave him alone. Because they even write, I have banners. It's our money.
But that shouldn't stop you from doing
no, it doesn't. It has not
so
stopped.
When you are interviewed,
no
fear, no favor.
Yes. Listen, it's not. It has not stopped us. We continued with it. One of them is that a group of MPs came to complain in our office a week earlier, one of them even a day before, and the day we brought the governor into Integrity Center to record his statement, they were part of the company, and they are members of parliament. So this has not stopped us. So when the people of this country say that you really need to deal with them, and the corrupt people, and at the same time they are the cheering squad, they accompany them in buses, they accompany them on foot, even sometimes when they even don't know them. What does that mean? Politicizing it,
okay,
ethnicizing it.
You said you had 2 points. Briefly get to the second.
The second is what Dr. Lutalala is saying, the issue of prosecution. It's always important to understand your environment, and especially our environment in as far as responding to matters of corruption is concerned. And it would always be helpful if the people who deal with the whole process have the first-hand information while they pursue the process.
Okay, how do citizens get information to your body? And that's a question we've received quite a bit. I know corrupt cases are happening in
we have hotline numbers. We've been sharing. We put in newspapers. We also put on every of our reports. Right now I have the numbers that you can report through: 020-271-7468, 027-285-663, 0733,
and if you call that number day or night,
we got our reports. Every Huduma center in 47 counties in this country also has our officer, has our desk. And we have regional offices in Mombasa, in Malindi, in Garissa, Isiolo, Nyeri, in Kisumu, Eldoret, Nakuru, Kisii.
Fair enough.
And Malaba.
Allow me to interrupt you. There are those who feel that your body suffers from 2 key issues. And let me try and describe them quite accurately. Number one, that you have ceded the job of fighting corruption to private citizens. Let me give you examples. Investigative journalists who do exposés, even private individuals like NASA leader Raila Odinga, seemingly do more to expose corruption than EACC. That's what some of our viewers feel. They say that when leaders like the NASA leader go to media, instead of forwarding complaints to EACC, that says it's a problem. So number one, has EACC ceded control of the fight against corruption to the political class, who we know it might not be in their interest, or to private citizens? But secondly, it seems that EACC has priorities, that on certain cases it moves very quickly, but on others it doesn't. And I asked you a question. I asked you about reports we had that you were moving to investigate Supreme Court Registrar Esther Nyayaki, and some legal minds were asking, wait a minute, does her work fall under your jurisdiction? Shouldn't you be dealing with public crimes, economic crimes? Should she not be investigated by the JSC instead of the EACC? How do you respond to those 2 questions?
Thank you very much. One, we have not ceded our control. We will not. And investigative journalism, or any public officer or any individual who has information, who stands out to speak, has the right to do that, and we pick from there. And one of our sources is that of media, and therefore every day we have somebody who is assigned to check what's happening in the media, and we pick and make a follow-up on the same. Others are the ones who go in the field through intelligence and pick our information. We also have people embedded in ministries. We pick our information on a daily basis. So we do our things on our own. And you also need to understand one thing. EACC receives over 7,000 reports every year. And not all of them are from the media or from politicians, as you are saying. Maybe 95% are also always generated through our established processes. But we do not sit and see what happens in the media or what leaders speak, pass without us speaking and attending to. So that is not ceding our authority, and our authority remains.
Okay.
Number
so
two, prioritizing. We prioritize because priorities have to be there even in investigations. There are matters which carry voluminous public interest and matters of public interest. For example, if somebody says there is a big scandal here and we see that there is from face value or from a prima facie point of view that there is quite a lot that we are picking from there, it will definitely get a priority status. If matter is of a bigger volume and we know that the financial engagement involved is also of bigger volume, it will definitely get that priority.
But you're still not responding to my question.
No, I'm on my way there. Why do you want to cut me short?
Okay,
because
go ahead. You're giving me an example.
No, priority. Yes, priorities have to be there. And the matter of Supreme Court is a very serious public interest issue. And we will definitely deal with it within the time frame that we've allocated.
You feel squarely that it's within your mandate?
Anything criminal is within our mandate, especially from this point of view.
Really?
Anything administrative there may be belonging to the JSC as you're asking, but if there are matters of abuse of office, it's part of our business. If there are matters of fraud that relates to the process, it's our business. We are not talking about employment of an individual. We are talking about handling of a process. And that's why we are there. The Leadership and Integrity Act is very clear for us. The Ethics and Anti-Corruption Act is very clear for us. What is not ours, we will not do.
Just what are you investigating about Nyayaki? Just so that I may come to speed. And as a lawyer,
what we are investigating, without me going into it and of course jeopardizing our process, is that the accusation of altering or replacing information with the authentic ones. So that is up to us, and we are also looking at the IBC, because that cannot go on its own. We are looking at the IBC related accusations. So we will investigate and come out with what is that. It's going on. It's going on. And if there is any wrongdoing on that side, we will say. If it is just at the IBC level, we will also limit ourselves to that. What is going to be administrative is not our business, and it will not be our business.
We are finding it hard to believe you on this particular matter.
Believe me or not, we will do our work within our mandate, and we will not go to other people's mandate.
I want to believe him, but just a quick parallel comes that the investigating attempted altering of documents, I presume with some benefits to accrue. There is another public interest case involving Alice Wahome, where she was forcing an officer to alter some documentation with regard to the presidential election. That also is a huge public interest.
That was caught on camera.
Yes. Have you come in?
So do you think, do you know whether we are doing that or
That's
not?
why I'm asking.
So
all this, I'm asking. Have you come in?
In fact, there is even 3-4 others of similar kinds.
Yeah.
We have.
I agree. Like now with the perception crisis about USA, have you come in Alice Wahome's case?
We have.
Oh, great.
We have. In fact, we are also looking at her conduct also as a leader in public. Not only the matter of writing things down, but even the behavior and the approach.
I'll give it to you.
Okay. I think you've asked the question. We are really pressed for time. CEO, you spent the last hour trying to explain to us what your body is doing. The SMSs, the message I'm receiving are of individuals who still find it hard to believe. Again, I repeat the same question to you. If this is a losing battle, why do you still cling on to that office? In a place, in an institution that clearly is a revolving door. Every year or every so often, we see changes in the leadership. If it is that difficult to convince the public that you are working, unlike other institutions of which the public, and we're seeing a change now where institutions are actually being praised, why do you do it?
Thank you very much. I don't see it the way you are seeing it. I see that we are achieving as we are progressing and making things work. In 2013, when I joined, the conviction rate, even the case completion rate at court was 5. This year, I'm telling you, 5 cases concluded in court. Today, we have 33 this year alone, and the rate, at the rate I have said of success, of conviction, we have had not much recoveries by that time. Today I can tell you we have more, and we will continue. This is not a losing battle. It is a battle which is gaining momentum, but only if you also looked at it from that lens of providing your hand and support as we progress.
No, we have supported you, CEO. In fact, and I want to prove to you.
And let me also say this. And this is a battle. If you decided to quit, then you are giving it up.
Last year,
2016
in August, Citizen TV aired an expose called the Rio Fiasco, which showed of a lot of challenges with the team that Kenya sent to the Rio Games. On New Year's Eve, President Uhuru Kenyatta stood up and specifically mentioned that scandal and said that all those responsible, there is allegations of loss of money, abuse of office, which you said is firmly within your mandate. We are now in November of 2017, CEO. Honestly,
that particular case, though it was a multi-agency investigation,
where are we at now?
It is actually a DCI case. That's with the DCI.
People who have information,
and they have charged some people. They have charged some people, and they are also going to complete the rest and charge others. It's a DCI issue.
Where's Dr. Wario? Is he still?
Yes, he is.
Is he still in office?
Yes. That's how we wrap up this interview.
Give me last.
Okay, briefly.
Very quickly. I've listened to my brother here, and because of the benefit of having listened to him and sat next to him, I see a Kenyan who is genuine and wants to deliver what his mind.
Not everyone sees that, Dr.
Yes,
do you see that?
No, allow me to finish. I see it in him, not necessarily what comes from his mouth, but the bigger problem, which is not saying, is that the problem is the political leadership of this country. And be fair to him, in his position, there are things he cannot say here. The problem that you have in this country is political leadership. That the political leadership has not stood up, just like John Michuki stood up with the Matatu and said, enough is enough. You've rightly quoted the president saying, what more could I do? And told his commission that, look, stop passing the buck. The problem is we need a John Michuki kind of style that will say corruption must end. What Alaki is saying, though he's not saying it, is that politicians are the ones who are running roughshod in the commission and all other institutions, not him. Having received it with the IBC, having received it with the Rio Fiasco, that's the ministry. We have to fix the political leadership in this country. And that's not going to be easy, it's going to be painful. But that's where the problem is. Don't look here much, look there.
Okay. I think that's how we wrap up this discussion. Many thanks to everyone who's written in.
Thank you very much.
SMSs, most of which I cannot read. What we will do, we'll print these SMSs and send them to you. Said we hand them over to you. Okay. All the SMSs, any tweets, we'll compile a list, hand them over to you. The ball is in your court. Next time we call you, we'll have them here, and we trust that you will tell us what's happened with those particular cases. That's how we wrap up this discussion. Alaki Wako, CEO, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, thanks for finding time to be here with us. Dr. Lutalala Muhwana, an advocate of the High Court. You are watching the Power Breakfast Show live on Citizen TV. On the other side of this break, DJ Roy T-Boy with some music to take you through your Friday. My name is